Well, first of all, the collapse of the state didn't happen. And that was the most important element that we're talking about. I think the second element was the decision taken by Trump then to do an attack on these three nuclear sites, Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordo. And that, again, seems to have been long planned. It's not something that came out of the blue, it seems to be, and that's what the American officials also say, that it had been quite long planned. Now, what happened was that I have been told, and I think it's true, that the Trump administration gave forewarning to Iran of this attack, probably through the Russians or through the Swiss embassy, I don't know. But they gave forewarning that this attack was coming, and that I think that I don't have evidence for this, I have to say, but it is my supposition is that the Russian advice to Iran was, Trump says it's once and done. They just want to do this and then it's over. It'll be the attack, finish. And the Russians said, just let it happen. Don't try and stop it. There's no point. Just let it happen. It's better just to let it go. And so Iran let it go. I mean, there was almost no indication of air defenses or guns firing or anything during that attack on Sunday on the three sites. It's still highly controversial exactly what was hit and what wasn't. I think there's considerable doubt whether actually B-2 bombers flew over, but they may well have done. But there is no indication. There's no indication that any serious damage was done to any of those three sites.
You just heard Alastair Crooke, former British intelligence officer, diplomat, and now one of the most insightful analysts of Middle Eastern geopolitics, reveal a stunning truth. The Trump administration launched a strike on 3 Iranian nuclear sites, but it failed. And even more shockingly, Russia told Iran to let the attack happen because it wouldn't change anything. Let's unpack what Crooke said and why this moment exposed not just American weakness, but also the strategic maturity of Iran and Russia. For 12 days, Israel and Iran fought directly, something they had never done before. Missiles flew across borders. Airports shut down. Refineries were hit. And for the first time in decades, Tel Aviv and Haifa lived under real threat. Not from Hamas or Hezbollah, but from a sovereign state with missiles capable of striking deep inside Israel. It was a turning point. And then, suddenly, Donald Trump announced a ceasefire. Why? Because the plan wasn't working. And worse, the U.S. knew it. Crooke reveals something few have talked about openly. Trump ordered a long-planned attack on 3 key Iranian nuclear sites, Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. These weren't random targets. They were chosen to send a message. We know where your facilities are. We can strike them anytime. We're serious. But there was a problem. Iran already knew it was coming. Crooke says, the Trump administration gave forewarning to Iran, probably through the Russians or the Swiss embassy. That's not just surprising. It's telling. Because if the U.S. warned Iran, and Iran still allowed the attack to proceed, that means both sides wanted to avoid full-scale war. Even better, Iran saw through the bluff. One of the most explosive parts of Crooke's analysis, I think the Russian advice to Iran was, just let it happen. There's no point trying to stop it. Trump wanted a show of force, so give him his moment. It'll be over quickly. That's not speculation. That's strategy. And it shows how Russia has become a key broker in Middle Eastern diplomacy, not just as a power player, but as a diplomatic advisor to nations like Iran. Russia didn't tell Iran to retaliate. It told Iran to wait, watch, and absorb the blow, because they knew 2 things. The U.S. didn't want all-out war. A A failed strike would expose American weakness. And that's exactly what happened. Because Iran understood something the U.S. did not. Symbolism matters more than damage. If Iran shot down every bomber, intercepted every missile, and declared victory, the U.S. would claim it was provoked. But by letting the attack happen and showing little reaction, Iran sent a different message. We could have stopped this, but we chose not to. That's a powerful psychological move. It tells the world, we're not afraid. We don't need to escalate. We control our response, not you. And it tells the U.S., your threats don't work. Your strikes don't matter. We're not impressed. This moment is bigger than one failed attack. It's part of a larger trend, U.S. decline and the rise of multipolarity. Iran stood firm. Russia acted as mediator. China watched closely, and the U.S. came away empty-handed. No regime change, no strategic gain, just an embarrassing failure and a rushed ceasefire. Crooke makes it clear. There's no indication any serious damage was done to any of those 3 sites. In other words, the whole thing was a show, and the world saw through it. In conclusion, Alastair Crooke gives us a rare and unfiltered look at the real forces shaping the Middle East. Not just bombs and missiles, but strategy, psychology, and diplomacy. And what we learn, that Iran isn't the reckless actor Washington claims, that Russia plays a smarter game than most realize, and that the U.S. is losing its ability to intimidate. Stay tuned for more analysis right here on The Informed Perspective. Until next time, stay informed and think critically. Well, first of all, the collapse of the state didn't happen, and that was the most important point. I think the second key element was Trump's decision at the time to carry out an attack on the 3 nuclear sites, Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordow. This wasn't a spontaneous move. It appears to have been planned well in advance. That's also what U.S. officials have said. It had been in the works for quite some time. Now, what happened, and I've been told this, and I believe it to be true, is that the Trump administration gave Iran advance warning of the attack. This was likely communicated either through the Russians or via the Swiss embassy. I'm not sure which. But the warning was delivered. I don't have hard evidence for this, I must admit, but my assumption is that the Russians advised Iran something along these lines. Trump says this is a one-time strike. They just want to hit these sites, and that's it. It'll be over once it's done. And the Russians likely said, just let it happen. Don't try to stop it. There's no point. It's better to let it go. And so, Iran let it happen. There's almost no sign of air defenses activating, no guns firing, nothing during the attack on those 3 sites on Sunday. It's still highly controversial what was actually hit and what wasn't. There's significant doubt about whether 2 bombers were really involved, though it's possible they were. But there's no clear evidence that any serious damage was done to any of the 3 nuclear sites.